Hey guys, I'm Alpha Spot and welcome to week 2 of the 2018-2019 Premier League review. If you want to know the series, what we do is we take a look at the past set Premier League results, we take a look at the Premier League table, and we finish off by looking at the top goal scorers. So here is the past set of Premier League results. These games were played on Saturday the 18th, Sunday the 19th, and Monday the 20th of August 2018. Also next to games are their times in this video, so if you want to hear about a specific match, just go to the time next to the game and you'll skip out all the other crap. But without further ado, let's get into our first match. We start with Manchester City versus Huddersfield. In their first home game of the season, the reigning champions took the lead in the 25th minute through Sergio Aguero. The assist actually goes to Edison, yes, the goalkeeper, as he boots a goal kick along about 80-85 yards right to Aguero. The Huddersfield keeper comes out, but it's caught in no man's land. Aguero has one defeated to beat, which he does by cutting inside twice before calmly dinking the ball over everyone and into the back of the net from the edge of the box. And Man City doubled their lead 5 minutes later thanks to Gabriel Jesus. Great work by Benjamin Mendy, who skips past the challenge and then tanked his way down the wing before playing a 1-2 with Jesus. But as the ball came back to Mendy, it took a deflection off of a Huddersfield man, and that took it right into the path of Jesus, who hit it low and hard into the back of the net. And 5 minutes later, Man City added their third when Sergio Aguero got his second of the match. Benjamin Mendy again causing the trouble as he put a low cross into the box. Ben Hamer really should have done better with it. It's right at his feet, but he spills it, and Aguero is there to pounce on the loose ball and slot home for his second. But Huddersfield would get a possible way back into the match in the 42nd minute when they got a goal back. It came from a long throw-in by Philip Billing. It was flicked on at the near post, and there running into it was John Stankovic, who poked home for his first goal in English football. But Man City regained their 3-goal lead just after half-time when David Silva got a goal on his 250th Premier League appearance for the club. Free kick just outside the area, it was always going to be the wand of a left foot of David Silva that takes it, and he stepped up, got it over the wall, straight into the top corner, leaving the keeper with no chance. And Man City got another one as they made it 5-1 when Sergio Aguero completed his 9th Premier League hat-trick. Benjamin Mendy was on another level today, another great crossing from the World Cup winner. Aguero runs onto it, flicks it past the keeper with his heel, and this goal took him into the top 10 all-time Premier League top goal scorers. And Man City got a 6 in the 84th minute when Terence Congolo put the ball into his own net. There was nothing the defender could do about it. It came as sub Leroy Sané burst down the left-hand side. He made his way through on goal. His shot was saved by Ben Hamer, but the deflection comes out, bounces off of Congolo, and into his own net. And that's how the game ended. What else can I really add? Man City were just the better team in every area of the pitch. Huddersfield were one of the only teams to take points off of Man City last season when they held them to a 0-0 by basically playing a 5-back. But this year, to counter that, City put 2 up top in Aguero and Jesus, and they just ripped them apart. Aguero moving his way into the top scorers of all time and has the joint second most hat-tricks in the Premier League. Only Alan Shearer has more with 11, but if Aguero keeps this up, he'll beat that in no time. He'll go down as one of the greats and is already one of Man City's greats. Huddersfield tried to defend, but if you sit back too much against this City side, they will find a way through, and they did that as they tore Huddersfield a new one. And we move on to Brighton versus Manchester United. Brighton took the lead in the 25th minute when Glenn Murray fired the home side ahead. It was a well-deserved goal as well, and it was a fantastic team goal. Juan Mata couldn't intercept a pass, and that allowed Gaetan Bong to play a ball into Solly March. He then put an inviting low cross into the area. Glenn Murray lost his man and flicked home beautifully from 6 yards out. And 2 minutes later, Brighton doubled their lead. Manchester United looked shell-shocked as Eric Bailly concedes such a needless corner, and then United failed to properly clear it as Anthony Knockout rolled the ball to the edge of the area to defender Shane Duffy, who stroked it home for his first Premier League goal. But United would get a route back into it in the 34th minute as Romelu Lukaku reduced the deficit to 1. This time it's Brighton who failed to clear a corner as Luke Shaw does brilliantly to win a loose ball ahead of 2 Brighton defenders, and he floated it back into the area. The ball does drop nicely for Lukaku, and the Belgian heads home from close range. But Brighton would get the perfect chance to retake their 2-goal lead just before half-time when they were awarded a penalty. Eric Bailly so recklessly diving in on Pascal Gross after Fred lost the ball in the middle. He's nowhere near the ball, ref correctly pointing to the spot, and after winning the penalty, Pascal Gross also stepped up to take it, and it's such an awful penalty. Not in the corner, comfortable height for De Gea. You'd bet on him saving it considering he did go the right way. However, De Gea overcommits, dives too far, and despite the ball hitting De Gea on the leg, it's not enough to keep it out as Brighton scored their third. The second half was really poor, especially from a United point of view. There was just no urgency about them. It felt like they had the bus parked despite losing. It was really poor from them, but they did get a chance to make the loss look a little better in the 93rd minute as they were given a penalty as Shane Duffy came in behind on Marwan Fellaini and the ref pointed to the spot. For the second week in a row, Paul Pogba stepped up to take it, and yet again, he stuttered his run, but unlike last week where he placed it in the top corner, this week he smashed it right down the middle. And that's how the game ended. A really bad Man United performance, as I mentioned earlier. Brighton completely stunned the United side in the first half with 3 goals, and all of them were completely deserved. United just didn't show up for the first 45, but then again, they didn't in the second 45 either. They did improve a little bit in the second half, but they never really looked like mounting a comeback. Worst day possible for Man United fans, watching your Manchester counterparts batter Huddersfield 6-1, and then watching the worst United performance I have seen in a very, very, very long time. And we move on to Chelsea versus Arsenal. It was an awful opening 15 minutes to the game for Arsenal, as they looked the worst I've seen them in a long time, and Chelsea took the lead in the 9th minute when Pedro got the goal. Arsenal were just ripped apart at the back. Jorginho dinked it down the line to Marco Alonso. Hector Bellerin was nowhere to be seen, and it was Mkhitaryan that has to do the defending, but Alonso has the pace on him. He squares it to Pedro, who finishes into the bottom corner. And Chelsea doubled their lead 5 minutes later when Alvaro Morata scored his first goal in a long time. Again, just embarrassing defending from Arsenal. Says that Azpilicueta had the ball deep in his own half. Arsenal defenders are basically on the halfway line, and Azpilicueta plays a long ball that Morata runs onto it. He outpaces Mustafi, makes his way towards goal before slotting past Petr Cech. But to be fair to Arsenal, for the majority of the first half, they were all over Chelsea, constantly beating them down the wings, cutting it back. Chelsea just couldn't deal with it, and they got to go back in the 36th minute through Henrik Mkhitaryan. I feel like Kepa should have saved this one though. Yet again, a ball pulled back across the box, and this time it comes to Mkhitaryan, who hit it low and hard. It's not in the corner. Kepa gets a good hand to it, but it goes under him, and he just can't keep it out. I feel like he should have saved that. And Arsenal levelled it up 5 minutes later through Alex Iwobi. Just the same again. Wing, cut back, shot. Hector Bellerin played it to Mkhitaryan. He then rolled the ball onto the penalty spot, and there running onto it was Iwobi, who lashed it home. And then for the second half, it was all Chelsea with the possession. Arsenal weren't as bad as the first half, because I feel Chelsea weren't going fully at it in fear of getting caught out again. But it was just all Chelsea, and they won the game in the 81st minute when Marcus Alonso made it 3-2 for the hosts. Alexandre Lacazette gave the ball away needlessly to Eden Hazard. He has it on the wing, skips past Lacazette, who was trying to make up for his mistake. Hazard dances past him, goes into the box before pulling it back, and there at the front post was Alonso, who finished between the legs of Cech. And that's the game ended. This may seem weird, especially considering how much I've just slated them, but Arsenal should have won this game. I know, weird, right? Despite being the worst team for the opening 20 minutes in the rest of the first half, they were dominating Chelsea and had 3 chances to score. Both Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan fired over the bar from 8 yards out, and then Aubameyang again missing from even closer, this time dragging it wide. Arsenal should have been 5-2 up at half time. The first 20 minutes just really cost Arsenal in this game. They just started really, really slowly, and it's a contrasting tales for the 2 new managers, as it's maximum points for Chelsea and Maurizio Sarri, but it's 0 points for Arsenal and Unai Emery. And we move on to Tottenham versus Fulham. Tottenham took the lead a few minutes before half-time when Lucas Moura got his first Premier League goal. It came as Christian Eriksen made his way down the right-hand side. His cross was only partially cleared, and it falls to Moura. He doesn't smash it. He uses the pace that was already on the ball to curl it into the corner from the edge of the box. But Fulham levelled the game up 10 minutes in the second half when Alexander Mitrovic got the goal. It came as Joe Bryan's cross from the left-hand side is far too ahead of his target man, but it comes back to Ryan Sessegnon, who pulls the ball back across goal for Mitrovic, who, while still on the floor, manages to pop up and head home from closer range. But Tottenham retook the lead in the 73rd minute as one of England's best performers at the World Cup, Kieran Trippier, gave Tottenham the lead again. It was basically a replica of his goal for England against Croatia. Free kick, about 25 yards out. Christian Eriksen is there, but it's Kieran Trippier all day long as he gets the ball over the wall and it nestles into the bottom left corner. And Tottenham got a third just a few minutes later when Harry Kane finally got a Premier League goal in August. Came as Eric Lamela just runs through the middle of the pitch before laying it off to Harry Kane, who then put it past the keeper. And that's the game ended. It ended up being a routine win for Spurs, but at times it could have been a much different result, as when Mitrovic levelled it for Fulham, they were on top for the next 10 minutes or so. The free kick from Trippier just changed the game, and heads did look like they dropped. Finally though, Harry Kane scored a goal in August, and that's why I didn't drop him from my fantasy team, as for the first time in 4 years, Tottenham win their first 2 games of a season. And we move on to Burnley versus Watford. This game was a tale of the quick start, as only 3 minutes into the match Watford took the lead when Andre Gray got a goal against his former club. He should have scored even earlier, as he had a good shot blocked by Stephen Ward 6 yards out from goal, but he got this one as Troy Deeney crossed the ball in from the right hand side, and it looks like Andre Gray actually shins it instead of making a proper clean connection, but it was enough, and it was a good finish past Joe Hart. But only 2 minutes later, Burnley levelled it up through James Tarkowski. A simple goal, ball whipped in from a corner from the right hand side. Tarkowski rises higher than anyone else to nod it home. And you remember how I said quick start? That's because no other goals were scored in the first half. But the second half, yet again, we had 2 goals in the space of 6 minutes, and both of them went to Watford. Troy Deeney gave Watford their lead back, as Abdoulaye Doucouré played a lovely hidden ball for his captain, who then, with the outside of his boot, poked the ball past Joe Hart and into the back of the net. And Watford doubled their lead 2 minutes later through Will Hughes. What a goal this was as well, as he picked the ball up just inside the Burnley half before making his way forward to about 25 yards out from goal, and then the midfielder hit a great strike that sailed past Joe Hart as he scored his first goal since November. And that's the game ended. Like I said, again, a quick start to the first and the second half. They got off to a flyer and then they died down a bit. I think it would be best if Burnley got knocked out of the Europa League in the qualifier against Olympiacos, because I can see them really struggling in the league if they go far in the Europa League. Watford were the better team today, and with them not winning a league away game in 11 games and not even scoring an away goal since January, they look like they've put that behind them with a comfortable win at Turf Moor. And we move on to Everton versus Southampton. Everton took the lead 15 minutes into the match when Theo Walcott opened the scoring straight off the training ground this one. Leighton Baines plays a free kick into the feet of Morgan Schneiderlin. He plays it round to Theo Walcott, who dinked the keeper and scored against one of his old clubs. And Everton doubled their lead 15 minutes later when Richarlison got his 3rd goal of the season. Theo Walcott turned from goal scorer to assister as he crosses the ball into the box, and on the end of it was Richarlison, who thumped a header into the back of the net. But Southampton got to go back in the 55th minute when Danny Ings got a goal on his full debut for the club. Horrible marking from Everton as Mario Lemina's flick on lands to the feet of the former Liverpool man, and he swept home. And as the game ended, Everton holding off a resilient Southampton side to pick up their first win of the season. Richarlison yet again looking like a good bit of business for them. Price tag is still a bit too much for me, but we'll see how I feel at the end of the season. If he keeps this up, then it'll be a decent bargain. But if you remember last season, he started the exact same way for Watford before falling off badly in the second half of the season. It should have been far more comfortable for Everton, as Walcott had a great chance to make it 3-1, but he somehow blazed it horribly wide from inside the box. That could have came back to haunt them, but it wasn't to be, as Everton picked up the win. And we move on to West Ham versus Bournemouth. West Ham got the perfect chance to take the lead in the 32nd minute when they were given a penalty. There was a bit of a delay before making the decision, as Javier Hernandez was clearly fouled in the box by Nathan Ake. Referee wasn't interested, but then all of a sudden he wanted a word with the linesman, who must have then convinced him that it was a penalty, and then the ref pointed to the spot. Marko Arnautovic stepped up to take it, and he drilled the spot kick into the bottom left corner. But Bournemouth levelled the game up in the 60th minute when Callum Wilson continued his fantastic goal scoring record against West Ham. It came as Steve Cook gave the ball to Callum Wilson, who then beats defender after defender before placing the ball underneath the keeper and into the back of the net. And Bournemouth completed the comeback 5 minutes later when Steve Cook put the Cherries ahead. Such a simple goal for Bournemouth, as a free kick is floated into the area by Ryan Fraser. Steve Cook manages to hold off Angelo Ogbonna and then dive in to head home. And that was the game ended, and what a win for Bournemouth, who came from behind at the London Stadium to beat West Ham. Maximum points this season for Bournemouth, who are looking like they could be a tricky test for a lot of teams this season. West Ham still yet to win. Last week he could have put it down to coming against a good Liverpool side, but this week they really should be winning these types of games, especially when you look at the 2 goals that they conceded. But 2 goals in quick succession for Bournemouth gave them the win in the capital. And we move on to Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. It was a scrappy first half, very stop and start, and it looked like it was going to go goalless in the break. But Liverpool got the perfect chance to take the lead just before half time when they were given a penalty, and I have no idea how people can claim this isn't a penalty. The ball was played at Mohamed Salah. Mamadou Sakho already has his hands all over the Egyptian, and as he tried to turn Sakho tripped him up and the ref pointed to the spot. I have no idea how so many people say this wasn't a penalty. It's actually beyond me. But anyway, James Milner stepped up to take it and he calmly slotted it in the bottom left corner. And things would go from bad to worse for Palace in the 75th minute when they were reduced to 10 men when Aaron Wan-Bissaka was sent off. Simple move as well for Liverpool. They play a long ball. Firmino flicks it to Salah on the halfway line, and because Palace were playing a very high line, Salah was basically one-on-one with Hennessy at that point. Wan-Bissaka did well to catch up with the Egyptian, but he comes in, trips him up outside the box to deny the Egyptian a certain goal. He was the last man. It was a goal-scoring opportunity. I don't think Wan-Bissaka cared if he played the ball or not. He was just trying to save his team a goal, and the ref showed him a straight red card. But then Liverpool wrapped the game up in the 93rd minute when they made it 2-0 as Sadio Mane got his 3rd goal of the season. Quick counter-attack, and Liverpool are so deadly in these situations. It was a corner for Palace, and Liverpool leave Sadio Mane and Mo Salah on the edge of the box to break, and they did just that. The corner came in and it was won by Virgil van Dijk, cleared away by Joe Gomez, and away the 2 goals. Salah laid it off to Sadio Mane, who just ran through the middle of the pitch. Patrick Van Aanholt caught up with Mane, but it looks like he slips over. He does catch Mane, but he stays on his feet despite nearly going over. He then goes round Wayne Hennessy and tapped into the empty net. And that's how the game ended. Liverpool are improving. These were the types of games that Liverpool used to struggle with, a scrappy game where there wasn't much space and they used to bottle it in the last minutes, but this time they wrapped it up in the last minute. Palace have nothing to be ashamed of in this game as they made it really difficult for Liverpool. They didn't really threaten the Liverpool goal with them only having 2 shots on target, but they made it really hard for Liverpool to attack in the way we saw them do last week against West Ham. It was a tough game for Liverpool, but in the end they made it 2 wins out of 2. And we move on to Leicester versus Wolves. Leicester opened the scoring against Wolves on the half-hour mark, but it was a Wolves man who put it in the net as Matt Doherty put it in his own net. Mark Albrighton's cross causes the problem. It was a beautiful cross, to be fair. Wolves captain Conor Cody flicks it on, and to be fair, it's a fantastic finish from Matt Doherty. I think he was trying to head out for a corner, but instead he just thumped it into the top corner. Great finish, just not at the right end, sir. And Leicester doubled their lead in the 45th minute when James Maddison got his first goal for Leicester. There was a foul for Leicester in the build-up, but fair play to the ref for playing the advantage, and the ball comes to James Maddison, who did the rest as he had a well-placed shot from distance that beat Rui Patricio in the Wolves net. But despite being 2-0 up, Jamie Vardy managed to lose his head and get sent off. He does get a tiny bit of the ball in the challenge, but his studs are up. He catches Matt Doherty right on the knee with his studs. He was out of control. Doherty is lucky to not have an injury. Straight red card. The right decision. Well, that's how the game ended. Wolves will rue their missed chances in this match as they hit the woodwork 3 times. Twice before the first goal even went in. It was a little lucky for Leicester with the own goal and a deflected effort from Maddison, but it's a learning curve for Wolves who will take a vital lesson away from this match about not wasting as many chances as they did. And finally, we've got Cardiff versus Newcastle. It was a pretty boring game for the most part, and the first interesting thing that happened came in the 66th minute when Newcastle were reduced to 10 men when Isaac Hayden was shown a straight red card. Newcastle probably should have had a man sent off earlier in the first half when Kennedy just booted a Cardiff City player in the leg off the ball, but it was a rash challenge from Isaac Hayden. He comes diving in from behind, he catches his man high up on the leg, and for the second week in a row, referee Craig Pawson shows a red card. But Newcastle would get the perfect chance to win the game with the final kick of the match when they were given a penalty. Cross coming into the box, Morrison lunges in to try and block it, and he does block it with his arm raised well above his head. Inside the box, a clear handball, ref pointed to the spot. Kennedy stepped up to take it, and after saving a penalty last week, the Cardiff keeper Neil Etheridge did it again this week, and as soon as this was saved, the ref blew the final whistle. And that's how the game ended. What a 2 weeks for Cardiff keeper Neil Etheridge. Saved a spot kick last week, but his effort was in vain as they lost. But this week, he's the hero in Cardiff, as his save gave Cardiff the first point in the Premier League since 2014. Surprisingly, Newcastle were the better side after they were reduced to 10 men, but they couldn't find the winner, and it's a point apiece for both teams. Right, so that's all the games I've got for you this week. Before we go, let's take a look at the Premier League table and top goal scorers, starting off with the Premier League table. Starting with top 5, and as you can see, Manchester City are at the top on goal difference after smashing Huddersfield. Liverpool are second after a tough win against Crystal Palace. Chelsea are third after beating Arsenal. Watford are fourth after making it 2 wins out with 2 at Burnley. And Tottenham make up the top 5 after beating Fulham. Moving on to the bottom 5, and Huddersfield are on the bottom after being battered by Manchester City. West Ham are 19th after throwing away their lead to lose to Bournemouth. Fulham make up the relegation zone after being beat by Tottenham. Arsenal 17th after they lost in the London derby to Chelsea. And Cardiff make up the bottom 5 after they drew with Newcastle. Moving on to the top goal scorers, and Sergio Aguero, Richarlison and Sadio Mane are all joint first on 3 goals. Callum Wilson is 4th, scoring against West Ham. That took him to 2 goals and 1 assist. And Pedro makes it the top 5 after scoring against Arsenal, and that took him to 2 goals. Right, so that's all we've got for this week. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be back at 4 PM next Tuesday for the next episode of the Premier League review. If you want to stay up to date about when we go live or upload a video, it would be best to follow us on Twitter. The link to that is in the description, or it's at portionofsport_. If you missed last week's episode, that'll be popping on your screen now, along with a link to the channel so you can subscribe. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. I've been Mark from A Portion of Sport, and I will see you soon.